Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily Newcastle Soccer Podcast. My name is Michael Grahamslaw, and once again, I am joined by Iain Mackay, my old friend. How's it going, mate? You doing well?
It's going good. Yes, it's a late one tonight, isn't it? But and we're going to double record, which is very exciting.
Yes.
But never mind, we are night birds, so that'll be all right. And by the way, you should let our American friends know that we say soccer podcast because we just love the way that they say it. Not
Yeah.
because we think it's ridiculous. We love it.
Yeah, the American accent does sound a lot better on television, especially, and in a podcast, than the Geordie accent. Just ask Cheryl
Aye,
Cole. But yes, yesterday we spoke a little bit about the about transfer deadline day. When we were speaking, actually, Wissa hadn't been done. Thankfully, that one got over the line. Otherwise, we would have been releasing something this morning that sounded a little wrong.
yeah.
But
It was done within 30 seconds of 9 o'clock. That was when the papers actually went. 30
yeah,
seconds. Talk about cutting it fine, blimey.
doing it the Newcastle way, 100%. We never do anything the easy way. But just to start off, I wanted to summarise our window. So the players that have permanently left are obviously the Rat, Sean Longstaff, not the Rat, Sean Longstaff, two separate players. Lloyd Kelly, Callum Wilson, Isaac Hayden, and Martin Dubravka. Those are obviously the permanents. Do you think any of those should have stayed at the club, or are you happy with all of those departures?
Um, well, back at the start of the window, I would have put my mortgage on Alex Isak staying with us. But of course, he's agitated, so he's gone. I think, to be fair, of the other five, all good servants in their own way at different times, but definitely Newcastle, the team as it is now, its goals and our expectations really has outgrown all of those players. Sean Longstaff could have stayed in the squad for maybe another 12 months, but to be fair to him, he agitated to go, so we got some PSR profit in because I think Eddie would have kept him as well. But,
Yeah, 100%.
Sean Longstaff wanted some first team football at 27, 28. So, and he was man of the match against us when he played for Leeds, wasn't he? So, probably
Yeah,
very
great
wise
game.
to do it. But yeah, the rest of them, I think, as I say, great servants, but for one reason or another, it was time for them all to move on.
Yeah, 100%. I think you mentioned Sean Longstaff there, and I think Longstaff, just the reaction he got off the fans after that Leeds game as well. If it was, well, let's say a different player, let's say someone who left the club a bit, let's say Yohan Cabaye when he left for PSG came back with Crystal Palace. If that's him snapping into the back of Bruno Guimaraes 10 minutes in, he's probably getting a horrific reaction. But even with Sean Longstaff, we were sitting there going, you know what, it's kind of what we'd expect from him. And I'm really glad both him and Callum Wilson have actually got off to decent starts at their new clubs. Lloyd
Yeah,
Kelly has as well, despite in February, Juventus fans saying he was the worst player they've ever seen. He's starting almost every game at centre-back for the old lady, one of the greatest clubs in Europe. So massive congratulations to those, doing fantastically well. And then even Marty Dubravka at Burnley.
yeah, yeah. I thought he was going to keep Man United out at Old Trafford, and it was a last-minute penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just a side note on Lloyd Kelly, we will come up against him later in the autumn. He's coming back to St James's with Juventus, isn't he?
No, we don't have Juventus.
Why? What am I
Uh,
getting wrong? What am I getting wrong here?
we said we wanted Juventus.
Have I
I said
dreamt
I
that
would
we
have
got
loved.
Juventus? Oh,
Yeah, we
yeah,
got
you're right. You're
Benfica and
right.
Bayer Leverkusen.
You're right, Michael. I am sorry.
It's okay.
You see, when you stay up this late and you're existing on not enough sleep, sometimes the daydreams turn into reality.
Hey, look, if I would dream of seeing Lloyd Kelly back at St James's Park as well, I can't blame you for that one.
Well, let's get them in the quarterfinals. That'll do.
Yeah, to be honest, you might actually be right. You say you corrected yourself. You just missed it. You've seen it the future. Newcastle Juventus quarter final, get us in the semi. Happy days. But yeah, onto the players we got actual money for. Obviously, we mentioned Sean Longstaff. That was just 12 million. And Alexander Isak, yep, him was 125 million. Are you happy with both valuations, or would you rather have seen us try and hold out for a little bit more money for either player?
No, I think Sean Longstaff's fair. He doesn't owe us anything. He's put
Agreed.
what? He's been there since he was 9. Um, and 12 million pure profit coming in is actually, does that mean we can spend 60 and then do a
Something
5 year
like that.
contract and write it off over the next 5 years, something like that? So that was good business. Isak, I have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth because we were never going to sell unless 150 was made, right up until the last day when it seemed to be everybody knew 125 was going to be enough. And does that make us look weak? I mean, I'm glad it's happened because he's gone and we can move on. And we've actually
Yeah.
got two really exciting strikers to watch this season now. But I think he's gone. I know it's a British record transfer. We shouldn't be too greedy, but I think when he was 150 mil from way back when, probably when Arsenal were asking at Christmas,
Yeah,
they were quoted
100%.
a ridiculous price. I just think that we haven't got full value for him.
No, I 100% agree, and that's what we were hearing all summer, wasn't it? Oh, it's a British record transfer, right? Well, I'll be honest. I know Alexander Isak isn't as good as Lionel Messi, but if someone offered 100 million for Lionel Messi back in 2012-13, are people going, well, it's a British record transfer fee. It's got to be accepted. No, some players are just simply worth that much, and I'll be honest. If Johan Wissa for 1 year is worth 50 million, Alexander Isak for 3, Isak did match him last year for goals. Goals from open play, should I say, not penalties. So realistically, 150 is probably the going rate. But we do have another striker ourselves who was going for an inflated fee, it looked at one point on a transfer deadline day, and that was William Masula. Was rumoured to be departing for Frankfurt for 28 million, but there was a transfer before that, which sort of struck me with the element of surprise when I heard about it. That Aston Villa had inquired about William Masula, but the deal was actually blocked by UEFA. Had you heard about that?
I mean, is that the UEFA psychiatric team coming in thinking that the Aston Villa board have actually gone nuts, offering 30 million for him? Bit harsh. I hadn't heard about that. I didn't know that Villa were in for Asula first. I think I was so stunned to hear that Frankfurt were, and I went for
Yeah,
4 or 5 hours thinking that he'd gone. But that apparently fell through at the last minute with Frankfurt. So what was the block for Villa taking him?
Yeah, so I've got a quote here from David Ornstein, and he says that Villa were pursuing Osula from Newcastle as a potential loan. He didn't know if it had the option or obligation, but it feels pretty well known that Newcastle wouldn't have been interested in a straight loan, which likely means there was an obligation to buy behind it. They weren't able to proceed because it was characterised under UEFA accounting methods as a swap-like deal. And by that, I mean the player had already gone from Villa to Newcastle. That's Jacob Ramsey for what
Yeah,
they deemed as significant profit. So it would have been seen as a trade-off because both teams have made a profit from the deal. Even if they're seen as independent, basically, if both teams make profit from two deals, then they don't allow it anymore. If both teams are gaining from it, and we've seen that a lot with Villa, with Chelsea. We did it with Nottingham Forest, with Odysseus and Anderson, although they seem to have made a lot more of a profit from that 35 million signing than we did from the 20.
yeah.
But yeah, apparently that's not allowed anymore. New ruling in, you're not allowed to swap players, which means, I mean, the biggest case was Inter Milan Barcelona, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Samuel Eto'o. That, in the modern day, just couldn't go.
Well,
Baffling to me, but
what you've said is because it's strange with Manchester United, cash rich Manchester United, apparently, even though they're skinned, wanted Martinez, who is a Premiership proven goalkeeper,
yeah.
and that looked like that was going to go through, and they've ended up settling from some chap from Belgium, who he might be great. I don't know. He might be the
I've not
next
heard
Matt
much about
Sells. Um, but that would have intervened there if, at the same time as Man U are trying to get hold of Martinez, Villa are trying to get hold of
Sancho.
Jadon Sancho, which is it's another interference, isn't it? If as long as it's fair and market value for those two, but then the sensible thing would have been for it to be a swap deal. Did we not
Hmm.
talk about bringing Harvey Elliott in as part of the Isak fee? Presumably,
Yeah.
that's not allowed.
I don't, that's the thing. I mean, from the sounds of things, it's only if two teams make profit on the deal. So I don't know if you're actually included in the deal, it'll be okay. Maybe if our listeners have looked into the ruling a little bit more, they can tell us. I'm just going off sort of what Ornstein's put, but basically, it looks like if two teams are making a profit from transfers, they can't go ahead. Now, Sancho was bought for an extraordinary amount, so there was no way Man United would make any profit from that. But Martinez was a little bit cheaper. I don't know if maybe Man United would, well, Aston Villa could have still made a profit on him. Or if it's a loan, because it's just money going straight to Manchester United. If that's something that benefits them as well. It's a really strange ruling, in my opinion. And it feels like
Yeah,
one that, again, is there to sort of not stop teams from going for the top six. Because let's be honest, if you're a top six team, you're only selling someone because they haven't hit the bill. They haven't got going. Like Chelsea aren't going to sell João Pedro in January for 30 million after he's pretty much won them the Club World Cup alongside a lot of others, and then had a good start to the season. So it's one of those where you're sitting there and thinking, this is literally there. So we couldn't do what we did with Forest. Aston Villa can't do what they've done with Chelsea, and there's countless other examples in the Premier League. So I don't like it, but how do you feel?
well, I'm shocked. I'm surprised. How come that change in the rules hasn't been publicised before the transfer window has closed? Presumably, that type of deal
Mental.
would have been in everybody's mind through June, which is when the teams with the struggling with PSR have got to react before the end of June, haven't they? That's when they do the final reckoning.
100%.
I can't think off the top of my head of any deals where that went through like that. But I mean, if that is purely, I mean, is that not a bit tinfoil hat, Michael, to say it's just been introduced purely to entrench the top six even
I
more?
don't think that's the deliberate. I don't think that's the deliberate cause of it. But what I will say is, it does kind of feel like another thing that is there to just push teams down.
Yeah,
Because we if we buy a player for 50 million, it doesn't work out. That's crippling for us. If Chelsea buy Mudryk for 100 odd million, and then he gets a doping ban after being terrible for 3 years, they can just spend another 100 million. So it's or they can just make a deal with someone and end up getting just as much money back. I mean, look at João Felix, the deal for him. He's been terrible at every club he's been to since leaving Benfica, but they've always managed to sell him. I think they managed to sell him for a profit, which is insane. But yeah, I could go on about this for years, and this podcast would just be titled "Michael's Rant About PSR and Chelsea."
well,
So
I think
we'll keep off that.
another chapter in your rant ought to be, because I have no idea what's happening here. Two Chelsea players not sold to Strasbourg, sold
Yeah,
to the Blue Note management company. So they're not. Are they not with a club? They must be
yeah,
registered with a club, but somebody else bought them. I just don't understand that. I don't know how that can happen. I thought
yeah. It's
they
insane.
tried to do that in South America, and the Tevez and his pal who came
Mascherano,
over. Um,
Javier
had,
Mascherano.
yeah, but there was a case, wasn't there? Sheffield United wanting to sue West Ham for staying up when they got relegated. I think they
Yeah,
might even
yeah,
have got a payout on that. I don't know. It's very
yeah. They
weird
did.
though. How could a
They did win
company
that
how could a
case.
company own a player
It's
if he's
so
registered to
strange.
play with a club? Yeah.
It's one of those. I
Again,
don't know. It's
it's
baffling to
it's
me.
not a club that needs to have their wings clipped in UEFA's eyes, therefore it's allowed.
Yeah, it's a mental one. But with that, I'll ask you just quickly to finish off. We went through the outgoings there. Obviously, we brought in Johan Wissa and Nick Voltemade, Anthony Elanga, Jacob Ramsey, Malik Chow, and Aaron Ramsdale. Give me a rating out of 10 for that transfer window for Newcastle.
At least 8. I'm delighted with the 6 players we brought in, and I think if you look at the upgrade on each of those players for who they're replacing, and if you allow me to add Isak and Wilson together and compare it to Voltemade and Wissa, I think we've massively upgraded in every single area.
Yeah, we'll
Ramsdale for Dubravka, Longstaff replaced by Ramsey, Elanga for Almiron, Chow for Kelly. These are huge. It's not just an incremental step up. These are big steps up, and that's right through the quad. Some of them are first team starters.
Yeah. I think when you look at it, all 4 of the players you mentioned there, maybe even Elanga as well. I do have to go and check, but Ramsey, Malik Chow, Ramsdale, they've all got Champions League experience as well, and that's something that other Longstaff will have had it. We're bringing in players with that sort of pedigree. I do agree with an 8. I will say I think it's been a great window, but to make it a higher one, I do think Leeds emphasised the need for a creative midfielder, and I would have liked to have seen the Isak drama ended a little bit earlier. They're the only things that could have went a little bit better. I think the Isak drama overran a little bit, but to be honest, so is the first part of this podcast, so I do need to get a Bioniq before I get told off.
Go.
Absolutely fantastic. So, we've mentioned the transfer window there. We are going to continue talking about the transfer window in part 2, but I am going to ask you, do you want me to give you a list of teams to choose from? Or, I haven't even asked you the question yet, really, but a list of teams to choose from, or do you just want to go for your own back for the question of which Premier League teams have had the best window?
Right. I thought, because I saw your Premier League predictions, Michael, and they were predictable predictions. So I think
probably be right, though.
I think the Premier League teams with the best window clearly are Liverpool.
Yes.
I've
got 4 written down.
Liverpool, Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look. Got balloons going up.
That's
a bit scary. I'm going to say Chelsea because they've offloaded Nicholas Jackson and they've brought João Pedro and Delap in.
Yeah, they broke even.
They were already stacked in midfield. I'm still not sure. I still think they're a goalkeeper short and a defender short, to be fair. And the fourth one, now, if I exclude everyone they bought in January, because I was going to say Man City, because I'm thinking Mamouche's a great player, but they got Cherky, they got Ait Nouri. You've probably put Manchester City down, but I would miss them out, and I'd put Newcastle. I'd put Newcastle United in as fourth.
Oh, I haven't done either of those. Very interesting. Why would you put?
Sunderland have been fantastic, haven't they? But I'm not sure that the overall quality is the same quality of the players that the other teams have brought in.
What I would say is, at the start of the transfer window, everyone said Sunderland would finish bottom, and they just might, match Southampton's points total. Now, they've got a brand new 11 players better than what they had, all probably on, well, except from Granit Xhaka, on wages that they can probably sustain in the Championship when they get relegated again. And now people are actually looking at them and going, you know what? They might stay up. And I think every Newcastle fan that thought, you know what, I'll take them to come up for derbies again, is probably regretting that right now. So yeah, I've got Sunderland in. So out of the 4 we've chosen there, out of the 4 we've got there, Liverpool, Sunderland, Arsenal, Chelsea, who do you think has had the best window?
Overall.
Yes, overall.
Overall. I think Chelsea failed to strengthen in a goalkeeping position, which I think will be their Achilles heel throughout the season and why they won't
Okay.
win anything. Um,
Bold.
I think Liverpool, had they got Gahey in at the 11th hour, would be clear winners of the transfer window. But
Mm-hmm.
they're left exposed at least until January now with a single bad injury to one of three centre half. Although they did buy Leone,
Yeah,
who apparently
Giovanni
is first
Leone.
team ready.
Yeah,
But yeah, it doesn't take much more than a tweaked ankle and a suspension for them to be really struggling in defence. So I'm not
yeah,
going
it's
to
a
pick
big
them,
risk.
although they have added the best striker in the world to their already phenomenal strike force.
Yeah.
Um, so by default, I think I can't pick Sunderland on principle, although they have got a better player in every position for their first team, so that is powerful.
Yeah.
But I think by default, Arsenal have won the transfer window.
Really? Okay.
They're
What
missing
makes you
someone
say
on the
that?
left, still missing on the left-hand side, though, aren't they? Although I
I
thought
guess
Madueke,
Eberechi, Eze will play there.
yeah, 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 definitely Arsenal. Eze,
Yeah.
Madueke, Gyökeres, I'm not sure about. Jury's out. He hasn't started fantastically well, although he's now banged 2 or 3 goals in, but he doesn't look the part.
Yeah. Oh, he
Um,
scored against Leeds.
Zub, Zubamendi was a great buy.
Looks good, yeah.
And then they've got this huge centre half, this Ecuadorian centre half,
Yeah,
who is,
Christian Mosquera
he
from
looks like
Valencia.
he plays football when he's time off from wrestling, is what he looks like. So if he's shown the wiles of a Premier League success by Gabriel and Saliba, I think he might turn into a bit of a beast.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I think particularly as well, two players that weren't mentioned there, Christian Norgard and the new centre-back, Piero Hincapi, I think it's Hincapi, who they've got on a loan. It looks like that'll be a permanent transfer as well. To be honest, I would agree with Arsenal if they had sold someone. So the players that have left are Nuno Tavares, Marquinhos, Jakub Kiwior, who, to be fair, will be going for 25 million or something in next season, and Lokonga. But they only made a total of 10 million euros from selling those four players, and they've spent 300 million euros. So that's one for
Mm.
me. I do have to say, I think Liverpool did well to get 53 million euros for Nunes, but I can't say they're winners either when they've lost Trent for less than 10 million. Kelleher was underpriced. The sale of Ben Doak for 23 million was actually really good. Quansah for 35, think they did well, but you've got to remember with Darwin Nunes, they had a bid from Saudi Arabia for 75 million 6 months prior. So 70 million down to 75 million down to 50, 20 million because they wanted to keep him another 6 months. I can't put Liverpool down for that, even though they've made some fantastic signings. So I actually have to say that the team that have done the best, as we look at Ian's fingers on the camera,
Sorry,
if you're on
I was
Spotify, please check
trying to
YouTube.
stop it from stop trying to fall off the table. That's all. I moved my feet and the whole table moved and the computer was going, but I saved it.
It's all right. A professional wouldn't have mentioned it, but you're with me, so unfortunately, it got mentioned. But yes, I do unfortunately have to say, in regards to the team that has had the best transfer window, I do actually have to go with our local rivals, Sunderland, because I think they got a lot more for Joe Bellingham than he was worth. They got 30 million euros. Only time I've seen him play, he's max a 15 million euro pound player. I think the signing of Granit Xhaka is fantastic. Same with Nori Mukiele. Gertruda, the right back from Leipzig. I know he was good a few years back when he was in the Eredivisie. Haven't heard much of him since. And then the rest, they kind of just seem like standard top 5 Europe, bottom half players. But they haven't spent actually as much as what you'd think. They've got a net spend of 130 million, which is less than we spent on Voltemar and Wissa. So I do think it's not enough for them to stay up. And there is, I'll be honest, some players in there like Arthur Masuaku, who I do look at and go, why have you brought him? But I actually think they've had a pretty good window, which is really
I
annoying, actually.
I think they will stay up.
Really?
I do. I do.
Ooh,
I think Brentford and Wolves are going to really struggle this year.
yeah,
I don't think Villa will languish the way they are languishing, but I think Brentford, Wolves, and West Ham, they look dreadful this year.
yeah, not great at all.
And you can factor Burnley into it, and Leeds didn't look very good when we drew 0-0 with them, did they?
No, they've looked
And
really
they
poor.
haven't got a striker. They've got Calvert-Lewin up front.
Yeah,
So I think
not great.
Sunderland have given themselves a fantastic chance of staying up.
No. And then just two quick ones to finish part two. Who is your best transfer of the summer window and your underrated transfer of the summer window?
Oh, the best transfer of the summer window. I think, you see, I've got a little bit of natural bias coming in. Um, I think whoever Eze had gone to, and it looked like it was going to be Tottenham for a long time, and then suddenly he was at Arsenal.
Yeah,
I think Eze might prove to be really good business at under, what is it, 62 or something? Didn't cost
something like
fortunes.
that. Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Eze's a great player. He looked cheap compared to the other players that were going for 65s and 70s.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
I think uh, I think Cunha at 62 looks like a wonderful buy.
Mm-hmm.
He's turned up and as one of the first players for 10 years to look like they were born to play for Manchester United instead of scared of playing for Manchester United.
Yeah, he looks really
I
good.
think Nick Voltemada might be one of the most
Oh,
exciting signings. And if he hits the ground running and does what he does on his reels on YouTube, then
yeah. Less
I
said
think
about
we
them, the
might be
better.
in for I think we might be in for a real treat.
Yeah,
So yeah, those three I think possibly without being able to split them, and the most underrated I think it will be not reindeers reindeers. I think it'll be Cherky at Manchester City because he's a wonderful player and he came in under
fantastic show.
40 million.
Yeah, to get the price, I think they were originally quoted 20 odd million. They were saying in the newspapers, and it was literally. I think every fan went, "Hang on, why is my club not looking at him?" It looks like it'll be a great signing. I would start. I misspoke there when you were talking about the YouTube reels of Nick Vontamade. And I said, "Oh, the less said about them, the better." I actually meant his social media, and if anyone hasn't seen his social media, I recommend you don't go look at it because it makes you think we've signed Calvert Lewin. And yeah, I'm going to go on just to give mine. And speaking of Calvert Lewin, he left Everton. My best transfer of the window has joined Everton, and that is Jack Grealish. They haven't had a quality attacking player for me in about 5-6 years. Grealish on loan genuinely is enough for them to go, we're not battling relegation this year. Let's try and take on a cup competition. Let's even try and battle for the Conference League because I think outside of the top six, I don't think there's a lot of teams that'll be battling 65 points. So I think with Moyes' defensive acumen, we saw it at West Ham. Everton could very much push for Europe with signings like Grealish. And then for underrated transfer, I've actually gone for a different Newcastle signing to you. I have gone for Johan Wissa. And
Right.
this is a direct response to the ESPN article that graded all the summer transfers, to which Johan Wissa was ranked as the worst, saying that we'd massively overpaid for him, and we were given a D for the transfer. Now, Johan Wissa scored 19 goals last season, not a single penalty, same amount as Haaland and Isak without penalties. And let's be honest, we don't have we do have a striker in Nick Woltemade, but asking an 80 odd million, 23-year-old to come into the Premier League and hit the ground running, he's not going to do it. Now, he doesn't have to do that. We can give him a year
Mm.
to get his feet in the ground, and you might just see him become the next big thing because of that. Not literally, and I 6'6", but Johan Wissa's goals, if they get us into Europe, 55 million is a bargain. And everyone has looked at that transfer on the deadline day and gone, Newcastle have overpaid for him. I think you'll find by the end of this season, he'll be one of our top players, and he'll have an absolutely fantastic campaign that gets us back into Europe.
I think we might have overpaid, but come on, we just sold bloody Isak the same day. We're bound to overpay for a little while, aren't we? While everyone thinks that bottomless pit of Isak money is going to last forever. But Wissa was on the same day that we sold Isak.
100%.
And if we've overpaid, I mean, what would have been a good price? Would have been, 40 million?
Yeah, 35, 40.
Okay,
I think
so we've invested this year's Sean Longstaff money on affording Wissa. I don't think that's
and I'm
too
perfectly
bad.
fine with that.
Yeah, well, certainly, as you say, if he's got 20 goals and we've finished fifth again and won a League Cup and FA Cup or whatever, got through to the semi-final after we beat Juventus in the Champions League, then give us Liverpool. No, save Liverpool till the final.
Yeah, we'll beat them in the final. Isak cries in the final. You love to see it. But you mentioned there, investing wisely. Something GSPN did with our next advert. Can you give me the Zencastr advert, please? No, Michael. Ian won't give you the Zencastr advert. So, listeners, we've had a little bit of a mare. I say we, I mean me. Unfortunately, I've had a power cut in the middle of this recording, so part 3 isn't available. But thankfully, Zencastr does record locally. So we have the first 2 parts, and then about 5 minutes of local recordings of me and Ian going, hello? What's going on? Are you there? It was like 2 grandparents getting their first mobile phone and deciding to ring each other in the same room. Mental. But that is unfortunate. We did go through who we thought had the worst transfer window, because with Daily, thankfully, we do have something to send out. We rambled on enough in part 1 and part 2, thankfully. Hopefully, we get back to who has the worst transfer window later in the week. But in the meantime, why not let us know your thoughts in the comments? If you've liked today's episode, please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on socials. It's a huge help. You don't realise how much that does help us. And last of all, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.